imagination simply contained in the mind? Or does it tap into an unseen world with messages waiting to be told? There is a place where legends cross over into our world, where strange visions and whispers beckon, and superstition takes hold. Step into the Black Cat's shadow.
Welcome back to the Black Cat Shadow. I'm your host, Andy, podcasting from Kansas City, Missouri. Today, I'm talking to a very special guest. She is an award-winning actress, having appeared in films alongside William Forsythe, Charles Durning, Tony Todd, Frank Grillo, Joy Lawrence, and Gabriel Anwar. She has starred in horror and sci-fi movies such as iMurders, Starship Apocalypse, and Slime City Massacre. She is also an accomplished author and board-certified life coach, having written a book with coaching tips on life, love, online dating, and LGBT support titled Coaching from a Professed Hot Mess. With a strong passion for female empowerment, she has been an active force in several charities for women battling breast cancer and support programs for teens and young women. I am very excited to introduce our guest today, Brooke Lewis. Brooke, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Andy. Thank you so much to you and Dave for having me and the Black Cat Shadow podcast. Dude, I'm like, every time I was trying to say the title of the show, I'm like, what a tongue twister. Do you ever flub that, right?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a different name, but
Yes.
I'm very excited to have you on the show, and I wanted to talk to you about your acting career and some of the projects you've been in, and also, a little bit about your career as a life coach and things like that. But to start off with, how did you first get your foot in the door to start your acting career?
This goes back a few years ago when I was a little girl, and I was always obsessed with television, to be honest, and film as a little child. And, my parents were divorced when I was 2, and so I threw myself into the arts and to always have company, and I would sit and talk to the television. So that was a big force for me to start taking drama classes and start doing musical theater as a kid. And then I got into it professionally in college. I was going to college I was a theater major for a couple of years, then switched over to pre-law, but that's a whole other life and conversation because I followed my passion and started acting, went right to New York at 21 and booked Tony and Tina's Wedding, the mobster comedy wedding off Broadway. Equity contract, did that for 3 years, 7 shows a week, and there you have it. That's how it started. And then I was always obsessed with, for all the listeners, obsessed with horror. As a kid, loved vampires, loved horror, and eventually, who knew I would become a quote-unquote scream queen?
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at
right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was looking at some of the movies you've been in, and you definitely have a impressive horror and science fiction resume. So that's awesome that you're actually a fan of those movies too.
Thank you. Yeah, totally. I think you have to be. I think in order to be successful in anything we do, I think we have to love it. We have to be inspired. We have to be passionate about it, and we want to love that arena. And I did. Childhood, I loved horror films and some sci-fi as well. And so, yeah, I started as a fangirl, and then one day, just to segue into it, one day I partnered up with producers Ken Del Vecchio back in New York, and we did a film that was originally titled Polycarp because I had done, off-Broadway and network sitcom on Fox in 2004 and mobster movies. Nobody knew who I was. And then all of a sudden, one day, I was one of the executive producers and one of the stars of a film called Polycarp, opposite, like you said, Charles Durning and Michael Pare, Eddie McCruiser, Streets of Fire. We all love Michael. He's amazing. And we did this indie horror thriller mystery that was called Polycarp, but when Universal and Showtime picked it up, they changed it to Kinky Killers. Yes, I said it on air, Kinky Killers. the good news from that, so never in my wildest dreams, I always loved horror and thrillers and love mystery. I'm a mystery girl. And never did I imagine that all of a sudden one day I would become a scream queen. And once it aired on Showtime, that was the kicker in 2008, beginning of 2008. And we shot it 2006, 2007. And then by 2007, all the horror sites were doing interviews with me, and 3 nights a week on Showtime, fan mail started pouring in, and next thing you know, they were calling me the new indie, B scream queen, and I just embraced it because I loved it, and I love the horror fan base like nobody's business. They're the most loyal, amazing fans in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure, and it's awesome to hear you say that, and because I think sometimes actors and actresses, they see the horror genre or science fiction as like a stepping stone into more mainstream films. So that's awesome to hear that that you do appreciate those genres.
Absolutely, and it's ironic with me. You're 100% right. I kind of went the reverse, and you're so
Yeah.
right. Like they usually start out there, right? And I was like doing Broadway and network sitcoms, and then it just kind of happened. And in life, whether you're an actor, whether you're a writer, for all the listeners, you can choose to embrace what comes to you, and it seemed to not come to me easily because I worked very hard for it. I was also producing, but it definitely was an avenue and a medium that embraced me and put me sort of on the map in that genre, and I'm forever grateful for it. And I will do amazing horror films just like I'll do amazing sci-fi films, just like I still do comedies and mobster movies, anything that is quality, that is good. And again, whatever the genre and medium is, you can choose powerfully, and that goes into my coaching stuff as well, what works for you. Like I have maneuvered and managed with the love of horror, to make it work for me and do what inspires me and what I hope inspires others.
Yeah, that's great. Now you mentioned producing, and you actually have a film production company called Philly Chick Pictures. I'm kind of curious, how did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question for anyone who is trying to break into the business, and nowadays more than ever. And this is, 15 years ago. So I was young and I had just moved to LA, and I was like, okay, I had been a working actress in New York doing, like I said, indie films, and I did a film, a really heavy kind of drama, sort of a crime thing called A Packing Suburbia. And then we did a film called Pride and Loyalty that Ken Del Vecchio also produced. And I was starting to assist and getting into production because I wanted to make sure that I secured myself into really good roles as an actress. So that was always my inspiration. So when I moved to LA after making a living as an actress for years in New York, I came here and really literally had to start over in Hollywood, right? So came here and I joke, but I mean it. I couldn't get arrested at first. I was like, okay. And everyone's like, well, where are all your TV credits? And here I had done Broadway and indie films in New York, and nobody cares about that here. So I was like, okay, I need to really figure out how to break into the system. And I created Philly Chick Pictures, like you said, my production company, in order to create roles for myself in front of the camera. And that is, I own that. I share that with the world. I hate producing. I am saying it. I'm declaring it. I'm saying it out loud on your show to the universe. I genuinely, Andy, hate producing. And I just, of course, wrapped another short film, which was brilliant, which we'll talk about later. But, I keep saying it, I'm never going to produce again. I'm never going to produce again. And unfortunately, it seems to keep grabbing and grasping me because it's been a way for me to stay in the public eye, stay relevant. More importantly, it's been an incredible outlet for me to be able to create content and product that I love. I'm not Jennifer Aniston, right? So people aren't, running in Hollywood to offer me A-list projects or great acting roles. So, in a feature film or a TV show, let's be realistic, I'm going to get a co-star on a TV or guest star. I'm going to get, great supporting roles in a film. But this way, I've been able to create lead roles for myself as an actress, especially producing short films with Philly Chick Pictures over the last several years, especially producing my Ms. Vampy passion project, because I then have full control. And that's what you want, not in a negative way, in a creative way, in a sense that I can now choose powerfully, again, the roles that I say yes to. And I'm telling you, it's been a blessing, especially even, of course, with Kinky Killers and iMurders and, Slime City Massacre. I mean, Greg Lamberson's just incredible, and I was only a co-producer on that one. But, when you're attaching pieces, whether it's financing or whether it's, cast or negotiations to a project, you create value for yourself. So that's kind of how that happened. And I did it for 15 years and kind of done with it, unless one of my Vamp It Out, Ms. Vampy pitches gets picked up by a major TV network. It's exhausting. It's a lot of time, energy, work. You're behind the scenes. That's the part that people don't see. Like right now, I'm taking a break from post-production for my last short that we just wrapped the other day, and we're exhausted. I mean, it never ends. But again, back to the positive, which we'll talk about the various projects soon, even these short films that when I'm waiting in between for the next TV series is in development or the next bigger film, I get to play roles that I would not be offered otherwise had I not been producing, like lead, really deep, juicy, meaty roles that I love as an actress. And that is why I'm here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And it's great to have that company, like you said, because it gives you that creative control over things. Like you can do whatever you want. And that's an amazing opportunity because a lot of people, they just have to take what comes to them, like you said. So that is really, that was a very smart on your part to, create that company.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you mentioned Miss Vampy, and that was something I noticed on your film resume. So I just had to ask about that. I was like, so that it looks like it's like a YouTube TV show where you are a vampire giving dating advice. Is that right?
Well, that's one of them. So Ms. Vampy was born when I became a known scream queen. And in 2008, I had gotten to be pretty known in 2007 in the horror genre and became a scream queen and was getting a lot of offers for horror films. And I was so grateful. I am grateful. But I knew again that I wanted to take creative control of my career. And I've been doing a lot of modeling, like horror kind of modeling stuff for different horror magazines. And I had my incredible veneer fangs, was doing some vampire modeling shoots. And I had a marketing company come to me in 2008 and wanted to represent me and wanted me to do like Brooke Lewis, vampire goddess, and push my boobs up even more, which is fine, and maybe do like something really seductive and sexy. And I was just like, this does not inspire me. But I knew as a visionary that they were onto something. And this was way before the apps. It was really when the web series were just starting. And so I followed my instincts, went to my partners at my own production company again, and said, they're onto something, let's create something, but it has to make sense for me. And I sat down and I meditated on it, and I went, okay, let's look at the body of my biggest work and what I want to create in this career with longevity. And it was, at this point, horror films, comedy, and mobster movies. And I always dreamed when I was younger of being Mona and my cousin Vinny, and I loved Elvira and I loved The Nanny, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
I was like, okay, right? And I was like, all right, I got to embrace, what is my essence? That's going to be my passion for a long time. So everyone used to say to me, you're so vampy. You're such a vixen. You're so vampy. And I was like, I am Ms. Vampy. And Ms. Vampy was born. She's a comedic mobster vampire with a heart of gold from Brooklyn. And of course, she talks like this, and she's like, oh my God. And she's so lovable, right? So when we launched the first web series, I'll tell you quickly the transition. The very first web series that we got financed, we did in 2008. We shot end of 2008, beginning of 2009. It launched. And I was a scream queen at that point in time, and I was not sure how the fans were going to receive her. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so over the top and fun and funny. Either the horror fans are going to love it or they're going to hate it. And I'll never forget, beginning of 2009, we sat there and I sent out the press release and we launched the very first web series, which was more of an Elvira interview sort of type of show with some of my indie horror star friends came and jumped on board. It was extraordinary. And I did sketch comedy with her. And then all of a sudden, I remember the very first hour it went up and we had 16, I think it was, horror websites and review sites cover us with incredibly positive feedback and
Nice.
reviews. I was so lucky, and I knew that we were on to something. So what I ended up doing was a couple of things with her, as a fun host, and traveling to a lot of the horror conventions. They all wanted to have me as a guest, which was incredible. I was at Horror Hound in Indiana and every Texas Frightmare Weekend. It was really incredible. And then when I sat down and really went, okay, what do I want to do with her next? I wanted to create something that inspired me, that would inspire others, and that was something with positive messages. So then we went into doing it for teen girls, which is my Ms. Vampy's Teen Talk, Tween Talk, Teen Talk, and In Between Talk. And it was a talk show for teen girls. We cast an entire teen girl cast. And long story long, the reason for that was because we took off for a year and created and wrote with partners my show Vamp It Out, which is now a full-blown TV series that we're in TV development and pitches with. And so when we did that, and I'm sharing this for a reason, Hollywood and the film community and TV community were like, this is genius. You're like an Elvira style with positive messages, but, we don't understand. You're like now becoming a horror icon. How can that benefit teen girls? Like, how can you possibly have positive messages, right? There you go. Yeah. Being, a horror icon, how could that be positive for young people? So one theme you'll see with me that I say all the time and I share with listeners is that when I hit walls, that's what inspires me more. When people tell me no, I go, okay, I'll show you. That's what inspired the teen show. And then what's been interesting, so that's been going on for years and years, and we've had it first, we had a company that had optioned it as a screenplay. Now it's back to a TV series. But I say this, and I share again with the listeners, anyone who is in the industry, you got to just keep staying true to what you want to create and don't let anyone tell you no. And of course, you have to kind of be flexible and make changes. And now again, we're back to a TV series for teens, but this Ms. Vampy's Tween Talk, Teen Talk, and In Between Talk show has been incredible. In fact, yesterday, shout out and big thank you to Indie Fest Film and TV Festival. We just won another award of recognition. I've won a ton of awards for this because for PSA, public service programming, positive messages, it's been extraordinary because that's my bigger purpose is to help. I'm very much about young people, female empowerment, fighting for the underdog, anti-bullying. So I know that that's what I have to do with Ms. Vampy. However, getting back to your original question with the dating, so she just is, she's Ms. Vampy, and I'm open, I'm really open. And so when I had Matt Raub, amazing, and one of my best friends, Stacey Lynn Wilson, who I've gotten to work with many times now as a director, we all got together. Matt had come to me. He was working with a big production company that was doing a lot of YouTube videos and stuff and web series. And that's when a few years ago he said, I want to do something more adult again with her, nothing disrespectful, but let's do you're the famous TV dating expert now. Like, let's do something fun. Let's get creative. So we did Ms. Vampy's Love Bites. And that, yes, you are correct, was our last web series we did a couple years ago and had so much fun. So again, I'm open. Like, I'm in talks now with a friend, one of my other dearest girlfriends. I won't say too much contractually, but we are now discussing another show with her, like another web series that could be, funded in a big way with a virtual reality company. So again, Ms. Vampy covers the world. She flies around the world with her bat wings.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it's great to see positive role models, especially for young women and teens, and it's such a rough time of life. I feel like I know for myself, so it's awesome that you talk about like anti-bullying and things like that too.
Thank you so much. And you said it. It is, I coach as a life coach too. I coach, again, all my career, all my brands kind of all, cross over into one another. And I love it that way because that way I get to be me. I get to be Brooke, be you, and be fearless. That's my life coaching business. And that's how I aspire to live. And believe me, I live in fear a lot. We all do. I'm human. I still get terrified of auditions. When I have big TV auditions, I get so anxious and nervous and fearful, So I try to that's what I tell the teen girls and grown women, I do when faced with fear, dig deep inside, find your inner vamp and vamp it out. and I've managed to create a whole brand around it. So I think now, like you said, Andy, more than ever, this is so important. It doesn't matter if it's men or women, with the nature of the world, the economy, with the internet, with so much cyberbullying, and it's harder than ever. And when I talk to teens, guys or girls, they tell me that, I don't know that I would want to be a teenager now. I really don't.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because, with, like you mentioned cyberbullying, and, fortunately I grew up before the internet really hit it big, before it became mainstream. So, that wasn't really a thing. You could go home and not have to worry about being bullied at home, It's crazy.
Yep. It is crazy.
So, yeah, you mentioned being a life coach, and so I wanted to look at that. How did you transition from being in the film world to being a life coach? What, was there some skills that you recognized within yourself that said, yes, this is what I want to do, or did you have advice from other people that recognized skills within you?
That's an awesome question, and you already covered it. I think my entire life I've always been as fun and kooky and crazy and out there as I am. I'm a very kind of rational, fair person, and I was giving dating advice to every one of my girlfriends. They would come over to my house when I was growing up and cry on my shoulder, and I was always I was a cheerleader. I was always trying to support others, and so that's just innate in me. And what happened was, again, segueing back to Ms. Vampy, when we did the teen talk show and when all the TV networks had said, well, we don't understand how she could be a positive role model, and at the same time the economy had crashed, I lost all my investors in my production company, and I was forced for the first time in my adult life to realize that I needed to look at something else, to financially support myself when I wasn't getting the acting jobs. And that was about 2010, and I went back to school. And I said, well, so what happened was, it's interesting because the teen girls on my talk show are the ones who inspired me to go back to school after 2 college degrees when I was young. And I did. I went to the Life Purpose Institute and became a board-certified life coach. Took the boards with therapists, passed, I don't know how, and I did it. And the reason was, again, and because also when I was doing the press circuit and a lot of the talk shows were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, her Ms. Vampy show is amazing, but is she a therapist? Is she a life coach? What's her certification? So as you can see, and as the listeners hear, each time I'm getting backed against the wall being told no, okay, so I will not leave any stone unturned. So I went back to school. More than anything at the time, honestly, was for my show and for Ms. Vampy. And, to this day, it's amazing how it has helped me in the entertainment industry after I launched my coaching business, because I loved it so much and it just became a side project. Launched Be You and Be Fearless Life Coach. And then from that is what my inspiration was, to start writing for columns, to start authoring books. It all kind of grew together, because every time they said to me, every time a talk show would say to us, well, we love, Brooke, she's amazing, but, does she have a book? I mean, right now we're only taking authors. It's just been funny, and I'm so open to sharing that because I want the listeners to realize that, when you have an inspiration or a dream or a goal, it doesn't necessarily happen immediately. You do need to work for it. But in time, if you do the work, you see it kind of come together. And so all of it has come together that's how I ended up doing some reality TV, unscripted as a life coach or dating coach on some big networks, because of my experience and my certification as a life coach, which was born out of the love for Ms. Vampy and helping teens.
Oh, that's great. Going back to your film career, what's been some of your most memorable moments as an actress?
Interestingly enough, I mean, I've had so many and some really good memories and some really bad memories, and I share that. It's interesting because some of the bigger projects, the higher budget projects with bigger named actors that you would think would run so smoothly, were some of the most challenging ones for me, where there's a lot of egos on set, where a lot of the male actors act like worse than women. I hate to say that, are more kind of catty than girls. I've seen it all. I've done it all. To be honest, for me, it's all about the work. It's all about the inspiration. It's all about the passion. It's all about creating something I love. And I have to say, some of my most challenging projects as an actress have been my short films. but they've been the most inspiring. Like, it has been, in fact, the last couple of years, as you know, what a whirlwind. I mean, I've done 3 short films now with various writer-directors. Each one has written me the most incredible role I could have ever asked for. And, I mean, we are just cleaning up, and I say that humbly, but we are cleaning up at the award shows and festival circuits the last few years. Sprinkles, thank you to Roger A. Sheck, which is a drama thriller, 10-minute short. I got to star in it with Don Danielson. Roger wrote it for me 6 years ago, when we were waiting for a feature film that he had written and was directing and had cast me as the lead in, and he couldn't get the financing for it. So we were waiting. He said, I have to do something creative. And he said, I want to do a short. And at the time, I was like on fire, you know, in the horror sci-fi world as an actress doing only features. And I was like, I'm not doing a short film. And shame on me, because that short film moved the needle for me as an actress in many, many incredible ways. And he came back 2 weeks later, handed me this 10-minute short. I read it and I couldn't put it down. And the role, it's hardcore. It deals with rape. And I actually just, thank you, just won this year, again, the Actors Awards for Best Actress in a Drama for Sprinkles. So it's opportunities like that. And I know we sit and go, oh, a short film, a web series. Some of these things in the last few years have been the most incredible gifts ever of my acting career. And right now, moving on to the next one, is our new one, Psychotherapy. I shouldn't say new. We shot it end of last year, but we hit the festivals and award shows starting this year, 2017. And now we're just in the thick of all the genre festivals, which is extraordinary. So Stacey Lane Wilson, same situation. We had been talking one day. She's one of my best friends. She's a really incredibly talented writer and talented growing director. And she and I had coffee one day last summer, a year ago exactly. And I started crying at lunch. And I am reading these scripts that nothing's inspiring me as an actress. I need my next Sprinkles. I don't even know what to do. I need an acting role, a lead female role that will just move my soul. And next thing you know, she's unbelievable. Within 2 days or whatever, I mean, literally, she comes to me with Psychotherapy. We titled it together and wrote me the most amazing role of Tonya. I can't give anything away because it's hush hush, because we're just starting to really premiere. And we've already won, I think, the film itself. I've won Best Actress at West Coast International Film Festival, at Mediterranean Fest, at Red Corner. I mean, the list is just endless. I just won one of the Best Actress awards at the Los Angeles Horror Competition. I won an Accolade Award for my acting performance in Psychotherapy. So it's amazing. I got to star opposite, for all the horror sci-fi fan listeners, I got to star opposite this super, super talented Ricky Dean Logan. Incredible chemistry we had. He's from Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead, the final chapter. And also Back to the Future 2 and 3. So it's so great when you get to work opposite super veteran actors. And he's been winning a ton of Best Actor awards. And shout out to Bryce Campbell, my dear friend who helped us produce it. And it's just been an incredible experience. So now we actually go to Vegas. Shout out to Action on Film Festival and Hollywood Dreams. We've been accepted to both. So we'll be in Vegas starting next week for 5 days. And we have 2 film premieres for Psychotherapy there. And it's just going to be incredible. And then we just found out last week that we got accepted as an official selection to Women in Horror Film Festival. So for all the listeners down in Atlanta, please come out and hang out with me and come support the film. We're screening actually that Thursday, which is, I think, all right, I don't want to mess it up. We're screening that Friday, which I think is the 22nd. I think, yeah, the 21st is opening night. That's a Thursday. The 22nd of September, I'm talking about. My apologies. So, so we'll be in Las Vegas for all the listeners in August, and then September in Atlanta. And it's just going to be, for, again, all the horror fans, we are screening there. And we've got the panels on Real, the Soska twins, and any real horror listeners are going to go crazy right now. Half the cast of Nightmare on Elm Street, Amanda Weiss and Heather Langenkamp, Greg Nicotero, brilliant effects guy, The Walking Dead. This is the caliber of the horror people that are going to be down in Atlanta with us. It's extraordinary. So I'm super excited about that. And we're still waiting, fingers crossed. My favorite, Shriek Fest, I Can Only Pray, and Zed Fest, and all the ones who have supported me in my career over the years. So it's going to be exciting. And then And then we just wrapped, I say we, but different teams, because I partner with different people, another unbelievable, I'm still reeling from the excitement from this role. And my friend Marcus Redmond from Doogie Howser, one of the stars of Doogie Howser and Fight Club, wonderful actor, now really incredible writer, incredible writer, and wonderful director. I had the privilege to work with him this last couple months on another short called Alan and Millie, a short romance, and it is a comedy romance with a horror twist. So all my horror fans are going to go crazy. I am so in love with this role. It's a little bit different, right? It's a little different than the other two, Sprinkles and Psychotherapy, that were more like a woman scorned. And this one spoke to me in so many ways. And I kind of feel like it's the last short film I'm going to produce for a long time, maybe even act in. And so I went out with a real bang, like pun intended. It was really incredible. And wow. And I got to star. You can hear my excitement because we just wrapped the other day, and now I'm in post-production, right? And so I got to star in it with opposite one of my best friends in the world, who I just am in awe of as an actor. And that's, again, for the horror sci-fi fans, Mr. Courtney Gaines, Malachi from the original Children of the Corn.
Oh, yeah.
And, right, Sweet Home Alabama, Can't Buy Me Love. I mean, his list is unbelievable as an actor. So he is so incredible to work with. And we've worked on other stuff together, but never starring opposite each other. And he really came through for me, and it was extraordinary. And we got to work with these two badass sisters, more twins, Katie and Callie Williams, DP and sound mixer, young, up-and-coming, brilliant, just incredible. Kelly Stark, my hair and makeup artist on this film, and everybody was just amazing. So it's really exciting. And so I'll just give a little spoiler alert, and that's it. But I play Millie Lane, and she is, I can't give too much away, and I can't give the horror twist away, but let's just say she comes back from being a B-movie starlet, like a horror starlet from the 1930s, 1934.
Oh, cool.
And Alan, right, who's like one of our like nerdy fan guy, like he's obsessed with Millie Lane as an actress and watches her old black and white films. So this is super cool. Another spoiler alert for the listeners. Any Slime City Massacre fans out there, when we were about to shoot, we were, in pre-production, and we were about to spend a lot more time and money shooting black and white scenes for the opening. Instead of doing that, I went to Marcus, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a way. See, this is my producer brain thinking. I have a way to save us a ton of time and money. We don't need to shoot for 3 days. Let me contact Greg Lamberson, my director of Slime City Massacre, who's a dear friend, and I bet you he's going to let us use footage from it. And so we happen to have my role as Nicole from 1959, Nicole Barker in Slime City Massacre, which I won the B-Movie Golden Cob Award for Screen Queen of the Year 2010. So Nicole has flashback scenes in black and white. So for all the because there's a ton of Slime City Massacre fans out there, for all the real hardcore fans, you're going to see the footage in Alan and Millie, a short romance from Slime City Massacre. So how cool is that?
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds really cool. I mean, just to have this career, where you get to like work with all these amazing artists, and is it? I mean, it sounds like you're doing a great thing there. You're putting a lot of positivity out there, and it sounds like it's coming back to you, and that's really awesome to hear. When that happens.
Aw, Andy, thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying that. I do, and I hope it does. And believe you me, I mean, I have my grouchy days, and I'm so type A personality, and I'm a pain in the butt to work with sometimes. But you're right. My heart's in the right place. My intention's in the right place. And, I feel like at this day and age and point in my career and stuff, like, either you get on the Brooke bandwagon or you don't, and believe me, I care what people think plenty, but I am blessed. But again, see, you just said something really important, because I've gotten to work with all these incredible people because I've produced these projects. So I then get creative control, and I get to pick and choose. I went to my agent manager to choose who the male lead was going to be opposite me in Psychotherapy. And that's how we got Ricky D. Logan. When you are working your butt off and you're truly committed and creating is when you can kind of control the magic,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I mean, it's, and like you said, I mean, I think that I'm on the Brooke Lewis train now. I'm on the Brooke Lewis bandwagon, I'll have to admit.
Yay! I got you. I got you.
But I mean, I could definitely see like, your Miss Vampy, being like a horror icon, taking the torch, from Elvira, I could definitely see something like that happening.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a lot of fans already, it's crazy without having a big network TV series. That's what's so weird. I mean, I get so much fan mail still for Ms. Vampy. It's crazy. And I haven't done a series with her, a web series with her in a couple of years.
No, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, yeah, definitely fans, they track that stuff down. I mean, people are looking for independent media or cinema or film, whatever, because the corporate stuff now, honestly, a lot of fans think it sucks, and so the horror community is looking for like genuine, authentic, shows, movies, short films, all that kind of stuff. And so they're going to track that down. So it's awesome that people are finding you. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah. And for all the Ms. Vampy fans out there, guys or gals, just an FYI, go to MsVampy.net, my website. You can check out all the different web series and shows. And I'm so blessed, and I'm shouting this out for promotion, but I have to share for all the Ms. Vampy, because I do get a lot of fan mail going, well, where can I buy Ms. Vampy merchandise and stuff? Right on my website, you guys. I have a clothing brand with Metal Babe Mayhem, so shout out to my clothing brand, and Allison Metal Babe Cohen, my partner. She's amazing. And we do have the Ms. Vampy design that Bill Bronson, the famous pinup artist, designed. So we've got clothing for guys and gals, and I know horror season's coming up, so go to my website. And for all your listeners, too, if you do hashtag Brooke 16, you get 20% off. So utilize that. And then my other brand for ladies out there listening with Ms. Vampy is Tosh Cosmetics. I have a clothing brand with Tosh Cosmetics. Tosh Guerrera Castagna is my partner. She's awesome too. I'm so lucky. And we have an entire makeup line we have teen girls, which is Ms. Vampy Girl, but we also have grown women, which is Professor Hot Mess. So again, go to my websites, and if you do hashtag Brooke 17, you get 15% off all our makeup and skincare, and get your teen girls, all our Ms. Vampy fabulous, like fun, sparkly eyeshadows. So I'm just rolling in it. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there. And my books, I forgot anyone with teens, also on my website. Ms. Vampy's, I should say it in her voice, Ms. Vampy's Teen Talk. There's a lot of power in your choices, and my goodness, this has been incredible. So the book is out there for teen girls. Parents get it as well. I mean, I can't even tell you how lucky I've been. I just won the Best Young Adult Book at the Paris Book Festival and Award Show. I just won an award at the San Francisco Book Festival and Award Show. I won an honorable mention runner-up at the New York. I'm like going on and on at the New York Book Award Festival and Award Show. Like, it's been insane, all with Ms. Vampy's book. And then everybody knows about my coaching book for women. So again, everything is all on my website. If you go to brookelewis.com, if you go to BeYouAndBeFearlessLifeCoach.com, you have access to my life.
Awesome. As we wrap this up, what would you say to a listener out there that may be thinking about pursuing their dream, whether it be acting or something else? What piece of advice could you give them?
If it's acting, I say put on your best running shoes and keep running. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's a tough road out there. No, I say that, look, acting, I think in this climate is in many ways tougher than ever, more challenging than ever to get a big break. And I think it's more easily accessible than ever. For those who have dreams, you can go make your own YouTube video. Here's what I say that's most important. And whatever industry, if you're an actor, if you're a screenwriter, director, anything creative, hone your skills. Don't just wake up one day and go, okay, I am going to do this. Take classes. I am such a proponent of telling people to study, take workshops. I've taken more acting classes, more producing classes, workshops, weekend seminars than I could even dream of, even coaching stuff. Like, do your homework, because there is a lot of competition out there. And again, segueing over to, if you want to be a mechanic, go for it. If that's your dream, take the classes, go to mechanic school, go to just study and learn, like, really. And now with the internet, you can research. I mean, I get hit up every day by young people, tons of emails, and I can't even respond to that many of them, asking if they could pick my brain, and how did you do this, and how did you do this, and where did you go to school, and how did you, and so that's why I try to keep all my websites updated so that it's out there for people to do their due diligence. But that's my big word. That's my sentence. Like, do your due diligence. Research, study, be the best that you can be, and that's all we can be. That's what I have to remind myself every day. It's in my Coaching from a Professed Hot Mess coaching book for adults is, let's stop trying to chase perfection. It gets tiring trying to be perfect all the time. And I have to remind myself that every day. Whether I go to auditions, whether I go to big TV pitch meetings at Warner Brothers, I have to go, okay, I'm perfectly imperfect. I am the best I can be. And that's what I tell everyone. Be the best you can be. Be you and be fearless and go for it. But be willing to sacrifice and do whatever you need to do. If you're going to be in a creative profession, you better figure out a way to financially support yourself while you're getting to the next place. And that's the best advice I can give. But you got to be passionate and just make sure that you're inspiring, and that you're doing what you truly, truly love.
Words to live by.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pure pleasure to have you on the show today. It's been a blast talking to you. Again, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. So, take it from me. You guys need to check her out. You need to check out all of her work. She's doing some great things out there in the film community and beyond. So, Brooke, thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
I can't thank you enough for having me. You're darling, and I wish you guys the best with the show. And all your listeners, hook up with me on social media at Brooke Lewis LA, Twitter, Instagram. I have a Facebook fan page saying everything's Brooke Lewis LA. But keep in touch with me, you guys. I want to hear what's going on and all the success of your show as well.
And thank you, our listeners, for tuning into this episode. We'd love to hear feedback from you guys. You can always send us an email at blackcatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find all our episodes and links to all the places where you can hear our show at www.blackcatshadow.com. There you'll also find the link to our eBay movie store, where we offer you obscure and hard-to-find titles on Blu-ray, DVD, and VHS. It's mainly a way you can help out the show and get something in return as well. And as always, you can find us on most social media. On Twitter, we are at Black Hat Podcast, and Dave is at Phantom Dark Dave. We are also on Facebook and Horror Amino too. We hope you are enjoying this new format with the interviews, and we are still going to have other types of episodes too, from movie reviews to general horror discussion to the road trip of horror. And remember to take a closer look at the world around you, and you may just find that it is stranger and more mysterious than you thought, especially in the Black Cat Shadow.